As I walked out the door towards the gate that would lead to my freedom, I knew if I didn't leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be in prison. These are the words of a great leader, President Nelson Mandela, who spent around 30 years in prison for his people and his country. Hello and welcome to Creative Edmo. Today we are going to discuss Long Walk to Freedom. It's the autobiography of Mr. Mandela, that is his life story in his words. But before we begin, let me remind you to subscribe to our channel. It will encourage us immensely. If you like our work, please do subscribe. He spent a major part of his life in prison. He was a man on a mission for humanity, equality and freedom. Freedom of his beloved people and freedom of his country, South Africa. Before we begin with the lesson, here's a brief background that you need to understand. South Africa belonged to its people, but the Dutch and the British wanted South Africa for themselves. For many years, it was either under the Dutch rule or the British rule, and the people of South Africa became the black slaves to these white rulers. The color of the skin was used to divide humans into the black race and the white race. And this led to the creation of a political system that separated people on the basis of their skin color, their race. It was called the apartheid, which is now considered one of the worst crimes against humanity. This led to the discrimination and oppression of black people in their own country. Here, let me request you to remember these words. It will help you in understanding the chapter and you will need these words while writing your answers. Discrimination means when you treat someone unfairly and unjustly, but in case of South Africa, it was inhumanely too. Black people had no freedom. They were not considered humans. They suffered oppression. Oppression means prolonged cruel treatment by people in power, that is the whites. Brutality means extreme cruelty, and atrocities also has a similar meaning. It means acts of extreme cruelty. So the brutality and the atrocities against the black people were unimaginable. So this is the background that you need to know to understand the struggle of Mr. Mandela. This is what he was fighting against. Now, here are some things that you must remember. His full name was Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela, and he was lovingly called Madiba by people close to him. Madiba was his Thembu clan name. Clan is like a group of families living together. In South Africa, there were many clans and he belonged to this Thembu clan. And he was an anti-apartheid revolutionary. He was a political leader and his party was African National Congress or ANC. So Mandela and his African National Congress spent a lifetime fighting against apartheid. Apartheid, as I already told you, is a political system that separates people according to their race. So Mandela had to spend 30 years in prison. Finally, democratic elections were held in South Africa in 1994 and Mandela became the first black president of democratic South Africa. In this extract from his autobiography, an extract from a book is a small part of it that is published separately. So what is given in your book is an extract from his autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom. Mandela speaks about a historic occasion, the inauguration. He describes the events happening in the present, remembers the troubled past and hopes for a bright future. So let's begin. 10th May dawned bright and clear. For the past few days, I had been pleasantly besieged by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before the inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. So the day is the 10th of May. Dawn is the early morning, just before sunrise. When we say the day dawned, it means the day began. So the day began bright and clear. To be besieged by means to be surrounded closely by. Who is I here? I is Mr. Nelson Mandela. Dignitary. Dignitary is an important person because of high rank or office. So since it was such an important day in the history of South Africa, after years of struggle against racism, finally a black man, the leader of the masses, was going to be the president of South Africa. Therefore, world leaders and dignitaries from all over the world had come there to pay their respects to Mr. Mandela before the inauguration. And what is inauguration? The ceremony where he would be appointed the president of South Africa. Okay. And this inauguration would be the largest gathering. Gathering means meeting, assembly. So this inauguration would be the largest gathering of international leaders on South African soil. So first time so many leaders from all over the world had come together in Africa. So it was the dawn of a new era for South Africa. That is, it was the start of a new time for South Africa. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheatre formed by the Union Buildings in Pretoria. Sandstone is a type of a rock, okay? Amphitheatre is a building without a roof with many rows of seats rising in steps, okay? This is the picture of amphitheatre in Pretoria. Now, Pretoria is one of the capital cities of South Africa. South Africa has 3 capital cities and Pretoria is one of those. And the Union Buildings. The Union Buildings form the official seat of the South African government and also house the offices of the President of South Africa. Here is the picture of the Union Buildings. Okay. So, this is the sandstone amphitheatre in Pretoria. It was formed by the Union Buildings and all the ceremonies took place in this amphitheatre. Remember this, okay? For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy and now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations. Extremely important line, okay? So many questions come from this. Now, listen carefully. Decade means 10 years. For decades means many years. Okay. So for decades, this place had been the seat of white supremacy. If one group of people has supremacy over another group, they have more political or military power than the other group. Okay. So the whites had all the power over the blacks. It had been the place from where the white people ruled. Blacks were considered inferior. They didn't have any rights or equality. The white people considered themselves superior and supreme. Hence the word, the seat of white supremacy. Clear? So Mr. Mandela reminds the readers that this same place had been the seat of white supremacy for years. That is the center of racial superiority. Please remember this. Okay, very important. Because the government was based on apartheid, the policy that considered the white race as superior and better. Hence the use of the word, the center of racial superiority, the seat of white supremacy. Okay. But now this same place was a site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nation. Site means place. So now you all must have seen a rainbow, isn't it? What's the main feature of a rainbow? It's made up of different colors, isn't it? So earlier the South African government was all white, only one color. And now that same place was a rainbow gathering. That is, it was a meeting where people of different colors were present. White, black, brown and so on. So hence Mr. Mandela calls it a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations because people from different nations had come there. They were all different colors and they had come for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. If someone is installed in a new job or important position, they are officially given the job or position often in a special ceremony like this. Okay. So the new government of South Africa will be installed in this inauguration, this ceremony. Clear? And what are the features of this new government? This is South Africa's first democratic government. Democracy, as you know, is a government by the people, for the people and of the people. So first time the people had voted, and on the basis of that election, this new government, this first democratic government had come in. Second important point about this government is that it's a non-racial government. Racial means relating to people's race, like the black race, the white race. So it's non-racial. That is, no person would be treated inferior because of his race. Black and white both would be treated the same, equal. On that lovely autumn day, now autumn comes before winter and it's 10th May. So you must be wondering, how is it autumn? Now, South Africa is in southern hemisphere. Therefore, summer begins in December to March. When there's winter in northern hemisphere, there's summer in southern hemisphere. I hope you remember your geography. So, it's opposite in both the hemispheres. So, autumn is somewhere in the months of April, May. Autumn is the season after summer and before winter. So, it's often considered pleasant. So, it's a lovely autumn day. But another special thing about autumn is that leaves change color from green, red, yellow, orange or brown before falling to the ground. So in a way, autumn is also the season of colors, and 10th May, this lovely autumn day, holds great significance. Significance means importance, because it is also the rainbow gathering of all the people of different colors and nations who have gathered there to install the first non-racial democratic government of South Africa. So it's a beginning of a new era in South Africa. Hence, 10th May is the lovely autumn day when this new era of equality and democracy begins. Okay, this is an important question. That's why I have explained it in detail. I was accompanied by my daughter Zenani. This is the picture of Nelson Mandela's daughter. On the podium, podium is like this, a platform used to raise something. Okay, so on the podium, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. Sworn in means when someone is sworn in, they formally promise to fulfill the duties of a new job or appointment. So he was like the second vice president. This is the picture of Thabo Mbeki. Then Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president. When it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. Now this is the actual picture of Nelson Mandela swearing in. Okay, so pledged means promised. So you must have seen swearing in ceremonies of presidents or prime ministers. So they take the pledge to act according to the rules of constitution. Now you can see the raised hand over here. So this is to take the pledge. Now constitution. Constitution, remember your civics. Constitution of a country is the set of written rules about how to govern the country. And if you uphold something such as a law, you support and maintain it. Okay. So Mr. Mandela promised to obey, support and maintain the laws of constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic. Now republic here refers to the country, South Africa. Republic is a country where power is held by the people or the leaders that they elect. So republics have democratic government. Okay. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said, assembled guests, that is the guests who had come there, who had assembled there. And the watching world, the world who was watching through TV or listening through radio or other means of communication. So this is what Mr. Mandela says in his speech. Today, all of us do, by our presence here, confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Confer here means give. Okay, so give glory and hope to newborn liberty. Liberty means freedom. So this liberty is newborn because this freedom from apartheid is recent. This is the first non-racial and democratic government of South Africa. Therefore, it's a newborn liberty. And the fact that leaders from all over the world have assembled here to celebrate this liberty, this thing gives glory and hope to this freedom. hope that it will succeed. Glory here means honor. Okay. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. Another very important line. Many questions can be asked in the exam about it. Now you may be thinking that ma'am is using the same line again and again. Very important questions can come. I know some students find this chapter a bit difficult, but if you watch this video carefully, you won't have any doubts. So back to our lesson now. Disaster means an event that causes a lot of harm or damage. Okay. So extraordinary human disaster refers to the policy of apartheid. Okay. That allowed racial discrimination of the black people in South Africa. The inhumane way in which the black people were treated, the injustice that they had to suffer for so many years, that's the extraordinary human disaster. And this extraordinary human disaster lasted too long. That is, it remained in practice too long, for many years. And now, out of this experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. So out of that, a new society must be born. And what kind of society would that be? A society based on equality. And the humanity will be proud of this new society where there's no apartheid policy, no inequality, where the blacks are given equal rights, the basic human freedom. And who is bringing this new society? This democratic government led by Mr. Mandela. Okay. We, who were outlaws not so long ago, have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. Now, outlaw is someone who has done something illegal. So, because of its policy of apartheid, many countries had earlier broken off diplomatic relations with South Africa. Diplomatic relations means relationship between countries. They are known as diplomatic relations. So because of the inhumane policy that snatched basic rights and freedom away from the black people, many countries had broken off their diplomatic relations with South Africa to show their protest or disapproval of such inhumane practices. That is, the countries made it clear that they didn't support apartheid. Okay, so they broke relations with South Africa to show this. So in a way, South Africa had become an outlaw, isn't it? So Mr. Mandela here refers to the whole nation and citizens collectively. We, that is all the people of South Africa who were outlaws not so long ago. Not so long ago means some time back, okay, until recently. So it's not been a long time when they were considered outlaws, but now today the things have changed. They have been given the rare privilege. Rare means something that doesn't happen often, hence precious, okay. Privilege is a special opportunity, a special right. So the same outlaws have now been given the special opportunity, the rare privilege to become host, where all the other nations have gathered as guests on the soil of South Africa. So what a transformation it is. And this signals the beginning of a new era in South Africa. Okay. We thank all of our distinguished means important, successful people. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. Now, according to President Mandela, the victory of freedom is the common victory for justice, for peace, and for human dignity. You may get a question about it. So, what is the common victory? The victory of freedom is the common victory. Victory means win, okay? Justice is the fair treatment of people. Human dignity, respect for humans, respect for humanity. So this end of apartheid policy is a common victory for justice, because by ending apartheid, black people got justice. They will be treated fairly and equally now, isn't it? Then it's a victory for peace. How? because it will put an end to all the conflicts between the blacks and the whites, where blacks were demanding their rights. Now they have finally got it. So it's a victory for peace. Then it's a victory for human dignity, because black people will be treated with equality and respect now, not like slaves, not inferior to the whites. So it's a victory for the people of South Africa, but it's also a victory for the entire human race. Therefore, President Mandela thanks all the international guests for coming there to take possession. Take possession of something means to take it, to get it, to accept it. So he thanks all the international guests for coming there to take possession of this victory along with the people of South Africa. Okay. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. Now, emancipation means freedom from restriction or control, freedom from bondage. Political emancipation means political freedom. Earlier, black people were not allowed to be part of the political system of South Africa. They could not become leaders in the government or hold positions. So the political system was controlled by the white race. Now we have at last achieved our political emancipation. At last means finally. Finally, the political system is free and open to all, even to the blacks. We pledge ourselves to liberate. Liberate means to free. We pledge ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender and other discrimination. So bondage is the condition of not being free. So people of South Africa continue to be the prisoners of poverty. They are poor, they have no money, so they are the prisoners of poverty. Then deprivation. If you suffer deprivation, you do not have what you want or need. Because the people are poor, they are deprived of basic things like food, shelter. Then discrimination. Discrimination means being treated differently or unfavorably. So there is gender discrimination. That is, women are not treated equal to men. Discrimination means treating one person or group worse than others. So people are suffering. So there are still problems of gender and other discriminations in the country. And President Mandela in his speech promises to liberate or free his people, that is the citizens of South Africa, from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender and other discrimination. Never, never and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another. Now, oppression means cruel, unjust and unfair treatment of a group of people for a long time. So, black people had to suffer oppression for long. And President Mandela promises in his speech that it will never happen again. Now, never has been repeated 3 times to strongly emphasize that President Mandela won't let such an oppression occur in his beautiful country ever again. Never will any one group be oppressed by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Glorious means something wonderful, something great. So what is this glorious human achievement? The glorious human achievement is this liberty, this freedom from apartheid, this non-racial democratic government that ensures that black people are finally free and equal. This is the glorious human achievement. And the sun shall never set on this achievement. Now, if the sun sets on something, it ends. So Mr. Mandela says that the sun shall never set on this achievement. That is, this freedom will now never end. This is also a reference to the British Empire. It was often said that the sun would never set on British Empire. But after years of British rule, finally South Africa was free. So the sun set on British rule finally. But President Mandela emphasizes that the sun shall never set on this achievement, this liberty, this freedom, this democracy that they finally got for South Africa. Let freedom reign. Reign means rule. God bless Africa. So let freedom rule and God bless Africa. So that was the end of his speech. A few moments later, we all lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters and troop carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. So South African jets, helicopters and troop carriers, these are the different types of planes. They rode in perfect formation. Roar here refers to the sound produced by the jets and planes when they fly. So they rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. Planes often fly in formations during such displays, so it was perfect. Now such displays are quite common during such types of political gatherings and functions. Now, an spectacular array. This means an impressive display that is colorful and attractive. And what is awe? Awe is the feeling of respect and amazement, surprise. So they all watched that colorful display by jets, helicopters and troop carriers with a feeling of awe. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Now, pinpoint precision, it means extremely correct, accurate, exact. So to form these military formations in the sky, all planes need to have pinpoint precision. They need to be exactly at the right spot at the right time, isn't it? So this spectacular display showed the pinpoint precision of the pilots. Secondly, it showed the military force. Okay, it showed the strength of South African military, the military force. That's why these displays are held where the planes, jets, helicopters, etc. of a country are shown to show the country's strength. So President Mandela says that it was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military's loyalty to to democracy. Okay, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. So this display also demonstrated, that is also showed that military is loyal to democracy. That is, the country's military supports this new democracy, this new government that was freely and fairly elected. Now this is something very important. You must have often heard that in many countries military leaders and generals do not support the government and they take control of that government. For example, it has happened in countries like Pakistan in the past. So President Mandela makes it a point to emphasize that this exhibition of planes in the air was also the proof of military's loyalty and support to his newly formed government, which was for the first time elected freely and fairly through elections. Only moments before, the highest generals of the South African Defence Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. Highest generals of Defence Force means heads, chiefs of army, air force, navy, etc. So the highest generals of Defence Force and Police are in their official uniforms like this, okay? And their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by. You can look at this picture here. It means that their chests are decorated with ribbons and medals that they got for bravery. From days gone by mean in the past. So brave acts that they performed in the past, battles that they won. So they must have received the bravery medals and ribbons. So these generals saluted the newly sworn in President Mandela and pledged their loyalty. That is, officially promised their loyalty towards his government, that the defense force and the police will stand by and support his government. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Now, not unmindful of means conscious of, aware of. Okay, so now let me remind you that President Mandela had spent around 30 years in jail for fighting against the apartheid policy, isn't it? So the same generals who were saluting him now would have arrested him in the past because that time they were working for the previous regime, previous government of the whites. So as they salute him now, President Mandela is conscious of this fact. It also speaks volumes about the struggle that President Mandela had endured to reach this point today. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue and gold of the new South African flag. Chevron means a pattern in the shape of a V, like this. So finally, a chevron of Impala jets. Impala is the name of a jet plane. Okay, so when jets are flying in such a formation that they all look like the shape of a V. So this is what chevron of Impala jets mean. So, and these jets left a smoke trail. Smoke trail is, you can look at this picture here. This is what the smoke trail of planes look like. So these jets left a smoke trail of the black, red, green, blue and gold of the new South African flag. Look at the picture of South African flag here. Okay. So since South Africa had just got independence from British rule, so they had a new South African flag now. So here's this picture and the colors of this flag. So Impala jets left behind smoke in those colors, as it is normally done by planes on such gatherings. Thus the black, red, green, blue and gold colored smoke was left behind by Impala jets, celebrating the independence of the newly created democracy in South Africa. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of whites singing Nkosi Sikelel' iAfrika and blacks singing Die Stem, the old anthem of the Republic. So two national anthems were played. Nkosi Sikelel' iAfrika means Lord bless Africa, and Die Stem, this national anthem was the one which was there during the time of British rule. So it's called the old anthem of the Republic. So the whites anthem was the Die Stem and the blacks anthem was Nkosi Sikelel' iAfrika. But since both the anthems were sung, so President Mandela saw the vision. That means he imagined, he saw the vision of whites, that is the white people singing Nkosi Sikelel' iAfrika, that is the black people's anthem, and the blacks singing Die Stem, the white people's anthem. Okay. So the blacks were singing the white people's anthems and the whites were singing the black people's anthems. And this symbolized the unity of the blacks and the whites. So both groups singing each other's anthems. And although that day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. Lyrics means the wording, the words of the anthem. Despised means hated. So the whites didn't know the lyrics of blacks anthem and the blacks didn't know the words of whites anthem, and at one point of time each group hated the other group's anthem. But soon each group would know the lyrics by heart. Soon they would know the words by heart. So this shows that the hope that President Mandela had for his country, the unity of the blacks and the whites symbolized by the singing together of these two anthems. So both these anthems were adopted by the democratic government, and President Mandela hoped and he knew that one day would come when the blacks and the whites both would know the words of each anthem by heart, symbolizing their unity. On the day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed with a sense of history. Now, to have your country finally free after years of struggle, it's a big thing. So obviously this day made President Mandela remember all those things of the past. He was overwhelmed with a sense of history. If you're overwhelmed by a feeling or event, it affects you very strongly. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War and before my own birth. So decade means 10 years. Okay, so in the first decade of the 20th century means, so it refers to the years from 1900 to 1910. And President Mandela was born in 1918. So he is talking about the time before his birth and few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer War. Now there were two Anglo-Boer wars. Anglo refers to British people and Boer refers to the Dutch people living in Africa. Now, as I already explained in the beginning, that the Dutch and the British were fighting for control of Africa. For some time it was under the Dutch rule, then British, and so on. But the point is that the black people were not free. So whether it was the Dutch or the British, the rule was that of the white man. So President Mandela remembers this time. So the white-skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark-skinned peoples of their own land. So President Mandela remembers the time when finally these white-skinned peoples of South Africa, that is the British and the Dutch, they patched up their differences. That is, they came to an agreement, they stopped fighting and erected means built, a system of racial domination, that is one race would dominate the other. So white-skinned people introduced this policy of apartheid, this system of racial domination against the dark-skinned people of their own land. That is, a country belonged to the dark-skinned people, the blacks. But the whites who came from outside built this apartheid to dominate the blacks in their own country. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhumane societies the world has ever known. Now, Mr. Mandela is talking about apartheid. This structure is apartheid. So, this is how Mr. Mandela describes the policy of apartheid. Now, I already explained it to you that apartheid has now been listed as one of the crimes against humanity. It led to the creation of the harshest and the most inhumane societies the world has ever known. That is, it was so cruel and so brutal. And this is how apartheid has been described by Mr. Mandela. Remember this. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man. Now, last decade of the 20th century refers to the years 1990 to 2000, isn't it? So, this day is 10th May 1994. So, now from remembering the past, the first decade of the 20th century, he is talking about the last decade, that is the present time. So, at the time of inauguration, he was 75 years old. Okay, so he was 75 years old when he became the president. That is, he had completed 7 decades of his life and he was in his 8th decade. Okay, so understood how he is referring to the time? Now also this emphasizes the long struggle of President Mandela and the people of his country against apartheid from the first decade of the 20th century to the last decade of the 20th century. Hence, it's quite an appropriate name, Long Walk to Freedom, isn't it? So, let's continue. Now, in the last decade of the 20th century and my own 8th decade as a man, that system had been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples regardless of the color of their skin. Overturned here means defeated. So this system, that is the apartheid, was no longer there. It was overturned forever and replaced by a new system, that is the democracy, a system that recognized everyone's rights and freedom regardless of the color of their skin. So the blacks would have equal rights and freedom because of democracy. Now, President Mandela is quite overwhelmed and he remembers the long struggle for freedom and all the people who contributed to it. That day had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people, people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. So that day means the day of freedom. Unimaginable sacrifices. So many people sacrificed their lives protesting against the policy of apartheid. Unimaginable sacrifices, that is, one can't even imagine the difficulties, the sacrifices that they had to undergo, staying away from families, running and hiding, getting tortured and killed. These unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of people. My people means the people of South Africa, President Mandela's countrymen, and whatever they suffered and the courage with which they kept on fighting, even when they knew they would be killed, no one can count or repay that. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. Patriot means someone who is loyal to his country, who loves his country. So all those African patriots, they are dead now. They had gone before me. They are dead now. So, but all their collective suffering, courage, sentiments. So President Mandela felt that whatever he was today represented all those South African patriots. He was some of their collective suffering, sacrifices and courage. So even though they were gone now, they were dead, but they lived on in spirit with President Mandela and this democratic South Africa. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. So that long and noble line, this refers to the generation of African patriots. So President Mandela views them as one family line. The patriots, they were noble. Noble means having high moral character and ideals. That is why they sacrificed their lives for their country. So that line ended because they are dead now. But then it began again with President Mandela, because their spirit lives on through the president, because he was fighting for freedom the same way those patriots did, and finally the country was free. I was pained that I was not able to thank them and that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. Wrought here means done or achieved. So President feels sad that he will never be able to thank those patriots who sacrificed so much for the country. They sacrificed their lives for the country, but they were not alive now to see what their sacrifices had achieved. That their sacrifices had finally made their country free from apartheid. The policy of apartheid created a deep and lasting wound in my country and my people. Now, wound is an injury. Here it refers to the injury to the soul. When the collective soul of the black race was hurt because of years and years of injustice, inequality and inhumanity. Apartheid policy created a deep and lasting wound. Lasting wound means something that would not go away easily, an injury that will last for many years to come. Okay, all of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. Now, profound means something deep and strong. So many years will be spent trying to heal that wound, trying to recover from that profound hurt. So the way they were tortured and treated by the whites, the pain of all that will take many years to go away. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect. Unintended means not planned. So these decades of oppression, this cruelty, this brutality had another effect which was not planned. And that was that it produced the Oliver Tambos, the Walter Sisulus, the Chief Lothilis, the Yusuf Dedus, the Bram Fishers, the Robert Savuques of our time. Men of such extraordinary courage, wisdom and generosity that their like may never be known again. Now all these are the names of great freedom fighters who fought against apartheid. They were men who had extraordinary courage. Extraordinary means much more than normal or ordinary. They were exceptionally brave, full of courage. They had wisdom, they were wise and full of generosity. Generosity is the willingness to share with others, to care for others. So President Mandela first looked at the damage apartheid had caused to the psyche of the country. Now he looks at the positive side, saying that decades of oppression and brutality gave rise to such extraordinary men, such exceptional freedom fighters, and this was not planned, and this was an unintended effect. Now notice that all the names are in plurals. Okay, of course there was only one Oliver Tambo, one Walter Sisulu, but by using plural, by adding S with the names, President Mandela wants to say that many other men like Oliver Tambo, Walter Sisulu, many men of their type or kind whose names may not be as well known, they were produced because of the years of brutality. These are the pictures of those freedom fighters we just talked about. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. Now President Mandela becomes philosophical. He says that extraordinary pain produces extraordinary character. By plunging into the deepest depths, one rises to the highest heights. That is, when the person has felt depths of oppression, that is the painful cruelty for so long, perhaps then he or she develops that extraordinary courage and character and rises above all normal people. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. As you know, South Africa is famous for its diamond mines. So President Mandela says that his country is rich in minerals and gems that are under the soil, that lie beneath the soil, that is below the soil. But even then, he doesn't consider those diamonds as the true wealth. Greatest wealth of Africa is its people, who he considers as finer and truer than the purest diamonds. So we see the love that President feels for his countrymen. Diamonds are expensive, and it's believed that years of intense pressure and heat under the earth produces diamonds. So the same way the blacks were subjected to years of inhumane treatment, the brutality, and they have emerged as finer than the purest of diamonds. It refers to their strength of character and courage too. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Comrades in the struggle means fellow freedom fighters who fought along with President Mandela against apartheid. So President Mandela learned the true meaning of courage from them. Time and again I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. So these people risk their lives for the idea of equality, freedom, and President Mandela feels that he has learned the true meaning of courage from such sacrifices. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking. Stand up to something means to protest against it, to not silently suffering it, but raising the voice. And the men stood up to those attacks and torture, and they didn't break. That is, their bodies might be hurt, but their soul was unafraid. Their spirit was not broken, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. Resilience is the ability to deal with any kind of hardship and recover from its effects. That is, not breaking, not giving up, even when exposed to problems. So such was their courage and resilience that it defies the imagination. If something defies the imagination, it is so strange, so surprising, so extreme that it is almost impossible to understand or explain it. So even when they were tortured and attacked, they didn't break. Such was their courage and resilience that it is almost impossible to understand it, to imagine it. Hence, it defies the imagination. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. Triumph means a great victory or achievement. Being brave does not mean you don't have fear. It means that you have won over that fear. You have triumphed over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Conquer means to win and defeat something. So now these are quite inspiring words by the president, which provides courage and inspiration to anyone who reads his autobiography. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. So President Mandela believes that no one is born hating another person just because he or she is black or has a different religion or comes from the different society or background. These are the things taught to a child by the society. People must learn to hate, and if they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love, for love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. So when an adult tells the child, stay away from the black people, they are not good for you, it is then that the child learns to hate them. But President Mandela talks positively. He says that if they can be taught to hate, they can be taught to love also. Because President Mandela feels that humans are more likely to love than hate. Love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Opposite of love is hatred. So we can teach them to love. So we can teach them to accept everyone as human and not love or hate based on the color of their skin. Even in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Grim means very sad, very serious. So in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits means pushed to the last point in our ability to bear pain, to tolerate pain. That is when they were tortured so much that they almost felt like that's it. We can't take any more pain. In those times, President Mandela saw some kindness shown by one of the guards. Glimmer of something means a very slight sign of something, a very faint sign of humanity. So the guards were the ones who tortured them. But sometimes one of the guards would show some small sign of humanity, probably one kind look, one kind word, or some other kindness that has been described as the glimmer of humanity. It was perhaps for a second, but that simple thing was enough to reassure Mr. Mandela, to make him believe that there was still hope, to make him go on. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. So he compares the goodness of a person's heart to a flame, and he says that flame can be hidden but it is never extinguished. Extinguished means when a flame or fire stops burning. So for some time people may get so busy in hatred and violence that their goodness gets hidden. But President Mandela feels that it never gets extinguished. That is, the goodness never leaves the heart. It is there. It just gets hidden for some time. So as a person is taught to hate, he can be taught to love. That flame of goodness is always there. We just need to find it again. So this shows that President Mandela chose to believe in the goodness of his enemies too. In life, every man has twin obligations. Obligations to his family, to his parents, to his wife and children, and he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. So the man has two kinds of obligations or duties. One is personal obligations towards family, that is obligations to his parents, wife and children. Then he has a duty towards society in general, that is to his people, his community and his country. In a civil and humane society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations and abilities. When the society is civilized and humane, where people are treated with humanity, they are treated as equals. There, every man can fulfill these duties according to his personality, his tendency, his inclinations and his ability. But it is not the case in South Africa. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both of those obligations. Man of my birth and color, color here is the skin color. So the one who is born as the black, he couldn't fulfill these duties. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. That is a basic right to live as a human was denied. They couldn't live like free humans. They were the slaves. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart, a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. Inevitably means unavoidably, something that would happen no matter what. So in South Africa, notice that he repeats it again and again, in South Africa to emphasize the condition of his country. A man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people, that is to raise his voice, to demand equality, he was separated from his family, ripped from his family. He was forced to live a life apart because he had to run for his life. Otherwise, he would be arrested or killed. So he had no choice but to leave his home and family. Whoever tried to raise the voice had to live like this and lead a life of secrecy and rebellion. Rebellion means raising one's voice against the government, attempting to change that government. And all rebels had to live a life of secrecy. Otherwise, they would be captured by the white government, tortured or killed. So they had to live in secrecy. That means they could not come out openly in public. So twilight here refers to the time just before night. So it's an in-between time when day ends and before night begins. So it was a twilight existence, always hiding in the dark. Twilight also means a situation of confusion or uncertainty to exist between two different states. So they lived in uncertainty, not knowing when they'll be caught or killed, not knowing when they'll see their families, just living secretly and planning the rebellion to continue the fight. I did not in the beginning choose to place my people above my family, but in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, a father, and a husband. Mr. Mandela admits that he didn't choose to place his country, his people above his family, but he realized that in order to serve his country, in attempting to serve his people, he was prevented from performing his duties towards his family. Why? Because he too had to lead a twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion, and then he was captured and put in prison for around 30 years. So while attempting to serve his people, he couldn't fulfill his obligations, his duties towards his family. I was not born with a hunger to be free. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. He emphasizes that it's not that he was born with a desire to be free, a hunger to be free. He was free because every human is born free. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut, free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village, free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slow-moving bulls. So he's talking about the basic freedoms enjoyed by children. Since he was born in a tribe, he's talking about freedom to run in the fields, to swim in clear waters of the stream. Stream is a small or narrow river. Freedom to roast mealies out in the open, under the stars means in the open, like sitting outside the hut and roasting corn on a small fire. Mealies mean corn. Freedom to take a ride on bulls, bulls who had broad backs and moved slowly. And he took a ride on such bulls. So here we also get a sneak peek into President Mandela's childhood, how it was spent. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the laws of man or God. As I already told you, he belonged to a tribe. Okay. So abide by means to obey the customs, the ways of the tribe. So as long as he obeyed his father and the customs of his tribe, he had no problem. He was free. He had no trouble by the laws of man or God. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion, when I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me, that I began to hunger for it. So as he grew up, he must have realized that he and his people were not free. Freedom doesn't simply mean freedom to run in the fields. It means the freedom to say and do what you want. Freedom to be treated as equals. So what he thought, his boyhood freedom, it was an illusion. Illusion means something that appears to be real, but it is not. So it was then that he realized that his freedom had been taken from him. It was then that he began to hunger for it. That is, he wanted freedom desperately. Hunger for freedom means to have a strong desire or need for freedom. At first, as a student, I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Transitory means not permanent, it's temporary. So even when he realized this, that his boyhood freedom was an illusion, it's not like he wanted freedom for his country right in the beginning. He was still thinking just about himself. As a student, he wanted to be able to stay out at night like other students, to read whatever he wanted. To read what I pleased means to read what I wanted. To be free to go where he wanted. So these were the basic freedoms he was talking about, but they were not given to the black people. You must have read in history that boards like blacks and dogs are not allowed were put in many places. So initially he just hungered for these basic freedoms for himself. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, Johannesburg is a city in South Africa. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, I yearned for the basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. So as he grew up, he wanted the freedom to lead a respectable life. Yearned for something means wanted something very badly. So he yearned to achieve his potential through studies and work. Of earning my keep, it means to earn what is needed to support family. So basically he just wanted to lead a lawful life, a respectable life, a married life, earning his money, and he wanted the freedom to do so without any obstruction, without any problem. Such a basic thing he wanted, isn't it? But then I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and sisters were not free. Brothers and sisters means the black people here. I saw that it was not just my freedom that was curtailed, but the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. So he realized that all the black people were not free. Their freedom was curtailed, reduced because of the color of their skin. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. That is when he joined the politics, and this is how his hunger for personal freedom transformed into his hunger for the freedom of his people, the freedom of his country. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self-respect that animated my life. So, he just wanted that his people should live with respect. Dignity is respect. And this desire animated his life. That is, gave inspiration and meaning to his life. That transformed a frightened young man into a bold one, that drove a law-abiding attorney to become a criminal, that turned a family-loving husband into a man without a home, that forced a life-loving man to live like a monk. Very important lines. These talk about the transformation of President Mandela. He was a frightened young man who changed into a bold one because he wanted freedom for his people. He was a law-abiding attorney. Attorney is a lawyer. He was law-abiding means someone who followed laws, didn't break them. A law-abiding attorney transformed into a criminal. He was a criminal according to the white government because he was protesting against that government. He was an anti-apartheid revolutionary who clashed with the government. That's why it's said that one country's freedom fighter is another country's terrorist. So Mr. Mandela was a freedom fighter for his country, but for the British who ruled South Africa, he was considered a criminal. A family-loving man. A family-loving man was transformed into a man without a home because he had to run and live a life of secrecy to avoid being caught. And ultimately, when he was caught, he spent years in prison away from his home. A life-loving man who wanted to enjoy the simple pleasures of life, was forced to live like a monk. As you know, monks live in jungle without any pleasures of life or luxury. So he was forced to live like a monk because he was running from the government, hiding and planning the rebellion. So he couldn't afford to go out and party or enjoy with his family or celebrate or do anything of that sort. I am no more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed when I knew my people were not free. Virtuous is someone who has high moral standards, someone noble. Self-sacrificing is someone who puts the needs of others above his own needs, who is not selfish. So President Mandela says that it's not like he was virtuous or self-sacrificing as compared to the other men. That's not the reason that he chose to fight for his country. It's that when he realized that his people were not free, that the black people were not free, that he just couldn't go on with his life. He couldn't enjoy whatever poor and limited freedoms that they had. He could no longer enjoy running in the fields, roasting mealies under the stars and so on. Whatever little freedom they had, he couldn't even enjoy that also, because in his heart he knew that they were not free. They were in chains. Freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. So he says that if any of his people was not free, he was in chains, then those chains were on all of them. Chains of his people were the chains on him. freedom is indivisible. Indivisible means something which cannot be divided or separated. So it's not like some can be free and some can be in chains. It could only be called freedom if all his people were free. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. Oppressor is the one who tortures others, who treats them badly in a cruel manner. Oppressed is the victim who gets the cruel treatment. So here oppressor is the government led by the white people and the oppressed are the black people of South Africa. So it's a very important line. Mr. Mandela says that it's not like that only the victims need to be freed. Liberated means to be freed. Even the oppressor is not free. Even he needs to be liberated. Now you may find it confusing that how is the oppressor, the white government, not free? A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. What a beautiful thought. President Mandela says that a person who takes away another human's freedom does so because of hatred. In a way, he is a prisoner of hatred. He can't be free of his hatred and prejudice. Prejudice is strong dislike without any reason. And who can have hatred and prejudice? One who is narrow-minded. That is, one who cannot tolerate other people's view. So the oppressor is the prisoner of hatred, locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. Bars refer to the rods in a prison cell. I am not truly free if I am taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I am not free when my freedom is taken from me. So like President Mandela was locked in a physical prison cell behind metal bars. He was not free. Similarly, the white people, the ones who caught him, tortured him, they were locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow-mindedness. So in a way, they too were not free. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. The one who is not free, the oppressed, his dignity, his self-respect is taken away from him. He is robbed of his humanity, isn't it? But in the same way, the one who is torturing him, the oppressor, he is also robbed of his humanity. That's why he is subjecting another human to such torture. So the oppressed and the oppressor are similar in that way, alike in that way. Both are the prisoners and both are robbed of their humanity, and hence the oppressed and the oppressor both need to be liberated. What a wonderful thought it is. And on this note, this extract from this inspirational autobiography, Long Walk to Freedom, ends here. Not only did you get a slice of South African history in this chapter, you also got to understand the long walk to freedom of President Mandela and his countrymen, the decades of struggle and suffering finally leading to freedom, and how President Mandela feels about freedom, how he remembers his country's past and links it to his present and hopes for a glorious future for his country. I hope you enjoyed this chapter as much as I enjoyed teaching it to you. Please do communicate through comments. Don't forget to like and share with your friends, and yes, please do subscribe. Thank you.